Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? We made it. It's the end of the last track, the last session of the day, and for many of you, the last session of Ignite. So I appreciate all of you spending it with me. Unfortunately for me, I have another session tomorrow morning that I'm very excited about. I'm thinking of calling it Friday Morning Light. So, but again, thank you so much for coming today. My name is Ashanka. And I am the product architect for Microsoft 365 Business. And I have been in Microsoft for 7 years now, and 6 of them were in sales. And then this time last year, I transitioned from sales to product management. And I wanted to talk about that journey, about what it took to transition into and switch careers, essentially, from sales to product management for 2 reasons. One, is that we need diverse voices building products. And there's this notion that you need to code to build products and you have to be super technical. Well, I'm proof that you don't need to do that. And this is really to encourage different voices to build products because we're a better company and we'll be better technology companies if we bring more people with different voices building products, and it's really important to me. And the second reason I wanted to talk about this is there are so many people that I meet on a regular basis who have the same sort of self-doubts that I did about switching careers, about moving from one path to another, thinking that it cannot be done. And I'm hoping that this session today will provide you some strategies or guidance or help you in any way that it's possible to do that. So a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm the chief, currently I call myself the chief product architect for Microsoft 365 Business. And it's the flagship product focused on SMBs. I love what I do. I'm super excited. One of the stats that not many people know is 95% of the world's organizations are small and medium businesses. It is the engine for growth for our economy, and I'm super excited to help empower SMBs every day. And I really love what I do. And the reason I love what I do is because I am the daughter of 2 small business owners. And my parents, my mom and dad, incidentally, became small business owners after their retirement. So my mother is a startup founder at age 65. She runs a biotech startup. And it's amazing that she went from being retired to being a startup founder. And it's really weird to have conversations with your mother about venture capital, about raising funds, about profitability and growth. And it's amazing. And I was talking to her, and I was like, maybe you should come and give this session, right? Because you did the ultimate career move. But one of the things that my mother and I talk about is product management, too. She builds biotech products. And it's really incredible. And they're proof to me that if you really love what you do, there is a path to getting there. And they're the biggest enablers of risk-taking that I've ever met. And the other thing is, of course, the love of my life is my dog. Everyone who knows me knows that my entire life is a shrine to him. And I tweet about him constantly at my Twitter handle. So if you want dog pictures, really cute dog pictures, it's a plug to following. So one of the things is I wanted to talk about my trajectory in a way. Because there's a sense of thinking that anybody who stands here gets to talk about themselves. Life has gone perfectly according to plan. And for me, I'm the poster child of things not going according to plan. So I want to talk about what my journey has been. So essentially, I came to the US in 2009 because I got admitted to business school. I got admitted to Duke, and I was super excited. Like, the day I got admitted to Duke, I was like, life is perfect. This is going to be great. I'm in a top business school. I don't have to worry about anything. And then 4 days after I got my admit, Lehman Brothers went down. And that sort of created this chain of economic, sort of financial collapse that happened. And then it was literally the worst time to be in B school. Because not only were you in B school not working, making money, you were studying, you were in the worst job market ever, and you were, I don't know about any of you, but I was $200,000 in debt because it's a very expensive school. And it was literally, there was so much stresses. It was like, what am I doing with my life? My life is in a mess. But I convinced Microsoft at the end of it to hire me. And the key word is I convinced them. Like, this is a very active job search where, like, Microsoft, you need to hire me. And then, again, life was peachy. I had the best job in the world, learned a lot, met a lot of customers. I was managing a territory, won Microsoft's highest sales award. And again, I was like, wow, this is great. The career, the trajectory is great. This is where I want to be. And of course, right when you sort of get that, life happens, and then you start questioning yourself. I was at a point where I felt stagnated, where I felt like I had done everything I needed to do in sales. I needed my next challenge. But then I started to hem in myself, my own self. I thought this is all I was good for. And I wanted to get into product management, but I didn't. And luckily, a hiring manager took a chance on me. And now, again, I feel like I'm in the best job in the world. And so I put this slide for a reason, in the sense that when I was analyzing my own life, I felt like the biggest growth in my life came at these downtimes. That this is when I have made the biggest career changes in my life. And it's almost like these two periods have forced me to evaluate my priorities. These two periods have forced me to evaluate what I'm passionate about, and then go do it, instead of just thinking about it. And so the entire presentation is about these two periods and what I learned, and hopefully it will help some of you. So let's talk about a traumatic period in Ashanka Adia's life, the B school years. So this chart literally gives me PTSD because it was really bad. It's like, think about like investing in something and you're already down $200,000, right? And there was really like as an international student in business school, there were no jobs there for you. You had to go whatever job was available. And all of the jobs that were open to international students were ironically in banking and consulting. And so it was like, wait, we just caused the financial collapse and I want to work for a bank? And so it was essentially more like, this was the point where I felt like I just didn't want to accept any job. And it felt like a lot of my friends and peers in B school were like, Ashanka, let's just take any job, work in a place for 2 years, grit your teeth and do it, and then you can move on to your dream job then. And my feeling was that why am I spending and making such an investment when I'm not going for the dream job? So I was like, regardless of how tough things are, I'm going to try to go for my dream job. And so essentially, what I did was I said I was not going to sit for any campus interviews, which was crazy because there would be like 2 interviews or 2 companies that would hire internationals. And then I was like, I don't even want to sit for it because I cannot fake my way through an interview. It would be a waste of time, so why bother? And so I was like, I will search for a job. And that was like the craziest thing in B school. And so what I did was I introspected very deeply, and I said, what are the things I love? I love technology, and I love making a difference. And for me at that point, the best intersection for that was education technology. And so I somehow got it into my head that I want to work for a company that does education technology. And again, all my friends were like, you're crazy. Like, you don't even have a background in education technology. You come from B to B. Like, what do you know about education? Everybody's going to laugh at you in your face. And they did, actually. But here's the thing. I'm something, if not tenacious, so once I get something into my head, I would like to see it through and see, like, fully flesh it out, and then if it doesn't work out, then I move on, but I'm tenacious, if not anything. And so what I did is I literally called all the recruiters of all of the tech companies, so Google, Microsoft, of course, and all of the other companies. Facebook, I think, was not hiring at that point, and they didn't have education anyway. So I was like, I literally called all the recruiters, and I said, listen, I am passionate about education technology. I love what your products do in education. I want to come work for you. And everyone was like, and all the recruiters were like, I've never heard an MBA wanting to work for an education. You guys generally want to make more money than that. And so the only recruiter that responded positively was Microsoft. And I still remember her name. She thought I was completely crazy for doing this because there was a hiring freeze in Microsoft. But I persisted. I started sending her cupcake recipes because I found that she loved baking. And so we really built a relationship, right? And then after 4 months, I remember the date, it was December 30th, 2010 at 4:30 p.m., I got an email from Microsoft saying, Microsoft Education wants to interview you. And for me, that was the moment when I realized that this was the best, this was it. This is what it's all about. It's being bold, it's putting yourself out there and trying to get what you want. And really, that's how I joined Microsoft. That was the day, that was the time. And all I had to do was convince the hiring manager that I was passionate about it, I was willing to put my best effort for it. And that's how I got into Microsoft. I created my job. And the reason I put this is because to tell you that everybody laughed at me in business school. Everybody did. And when we graduated, I can honestly say that I am the person who graduated with my dream job. Most everybody I know compromised and settled for a job that they didn't really like. And that's, I think, the biggest lesson I learned from the B-Skill experience, is that when you know what you're passionate about, have the conviction. Because people will try to bring you down or dissuade you from that. But as far as you're concerned, all you have to do is create a path to getting there. And my path was literally working strategically through our alumni, the Microsoft alumni and the recruiter, and it helped me get the job into Microsoft Education. So that's the happy part, right? Getting into Microsoft, so let's talk about the Microsoft years. So this is 2011, I get into my dream job, Microsoft Education. Again, things are great. It was honestly an awesome job because I got to go into classrooms bringing Xboxes, and I was playing Dance Dance Revolution with 6-year-olds and beating them, so I was very proud of that. So that was literally my job. And then I got handed over a business of, I think, $25 million to manage. Because my manager was like, you're playing too much Dance Dance Revolution, let's give you a territory to manage. And so, yeah, and that's one of the things I loved about Microsoft is they took someone from B School and handed you a $25 million territory and said, go run it and grow it. It was really awesome. Developed a lot of customer insights, got to know customers really well, got to understand our product really well. From having no product knowledge, I don't code. I wasn't technical before I joined Microsoft, but that was really the job where I truly understood the Microsoft stack. I truly understood customer environments, like how their entire infrastructure is built, learned a lot. And by 2017, or last year, I was managing a $200 million business. And that was my revenue accountability. That was literally half of the healthcare business in the United States. And $200 million is literally more than what Snapchat makes every quarter. So just by myself, I was running the healthcare business. So I thought it was pretty cool. But then after you do that, I felt like I was stagnating again, that I had done everything. Sales was something that was becoming very routine. I was not learning anything. And I started to build an appreciation for building products around this time. And so I really wanted to get into product management, start building products rather than just trying to influence it from sales. And at this point, that's when I started to tell myself that I did not have a coding background, so why bother? At this point, I started feeling that, okay, maybe my career trajectory is in sales and that's where I should be. But I was not growing. I wasn't feeling like I was getting anywhere. And so one of the things is fighting self-doubts, and I'll talk a lot about it. I believed that I couldn't get into product management. Nobody at Microsoft told me that, by the way. No, I never talked to anybody in Microsoft who said, you're in sales, 6 to sales, you will not become a PM. It was my self-doubts. And it was also just believing that sometimes if you're in a particular career path, that's all you're meant to do, and maybe just, even though if you're not enjoying yourself or not growing, that's the path to be in. And so, fortunately, Microsoft did, because there was a hiring manager that took a chance on me. And I got into the role that I'm in, and I totally love it. And what I want to talk about is that next path of how did I go about strategically working to do this because it just didn't happen. At this point, I knew what I wanted to do next. I wanted to do product management. The question is, how do I get there? And so I essentially used these 4 things, and I think I'm going to use this again in my next career switch, because there is going to be a next career switch, right? The first thing is me trying to evaluate what is it that product management actually requires. What do you need? What are the skills you need to build products? If it's really coding, then I will convince myself that, okay, fine, that's not something that I can develop overnight, and so maybe it's not for me. But I really needed to evaluate if what the core skills are for building products. Then I decided to see, okay, how do I map those skills, right? Like from my current experience and all the experience in my life, what are the boxes I tick and what are the boxes I don't tick? So it'll give me a realistic understanding of where I stand. Then the third thing is, okay, I'm going to find a champion for me, someone who's going to mentor me, someone who's going to tell me what is needed to do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a body of work. The body of work is going to be my sample that I can actually do the job. So for a hiring manager, especially in my case, because I was switching transitions, this body of work is super important. It shows a hiring manager that I am not kidding around. I'm serious about this transition. And in fact, I'm so serious about this transition. Here's a full body of work that I'm willing to put in to make this transition out of my own time. And I think that's super powerful. So let's talk more about each of this, right? For me, the biggest surprise is the skills of building products. It's not necessarily super technical. It's really being able to understand what's happening on a macroeconomic basis, if that makes sense, right? I think the first thing is really understanding technology. You don't have to be super technical, but you have to understand what the product is trying to do. Like, what is the core function of the product? What problem is it trying to solve? How does it even work? I think the main thing is, right? But then I think the other aspect is understanding the customers, right? What do the customers want? What is their pain point? What will delight them? Those are the aspects. Having those kind of insights are really powerful into building products. The other aspect is market dynamics. Having a point of view on what is your market opportunity, being able to calculate what is the size of the business that we're going to go after, and what is the competitive position? Who are the competitors who are doing well? What are they doing well? How well are they doing? All these aspects are important. It's sort of like being able to take a macro view and being able to, in a way, zoom out and look at the world around your product, and being able to have that perspective, and then zooming into the tactical details of actually building the product in terms of defining the product experience. How do customers actually experience this? What is their journey to the product? What features will delight them? And what issues they're facing? So having that really tactical level of understanding from a product perspective is super important. And then working with devs or the engineering team to actually build and ship these features are super important as well. And here where they're looking for is things like prioritization skills, being able to create project timelines, working and managing timelines, and then working on bugs and blockers, those kind of tactical levels. So really, from a building product perspective, the key skills that I have realized are needed is the ability to have that macro view, look at sort of the business. So having a business acumen is really important. Thinking about your product, technology, market dynamics is super important. And then being able to zoom in and then being really tactical about what needs to happen to get your product into the market. And so just for those in the room, I wanted to sort of lay out, this is something that I discovered, and I'm hoping it's super useful, is there are many, many roles that help you build products. You don't have to be a PM. And I think it's true for a lot of technology companies, including Microsoft. There are different roles that help you sort of be part of the product experience. And so for me here, in terms of product management, classic PMs I have discovered need to be really strong in understanding how the product works, having a understanding of technology, not coding, but really understanding the underpinnings of the technology is very important. Having deep customer insight is very important. Being able to have a pulse on what customers want, what is their pain points, what needs you're trying to fulfill is super important. And then defining the product experience. Actually, what features need to be there is super important. But we have a lot of program managers too, and program managers vary their skills in terms of having that product expertise, but then more focused on the product experience and shipping and managing timelines. And by the way, in a lot of companies, all of these are interchangeable, so it really depends on the company that you're in. But even in Microsoft, all of these functions vary. So you will have program managers doing a lot of other things. You will have product marketing actually doing PM work. So it really depends on which org and what your function is. And so this really varies. And then in product marketing serves a very important function, in my opinion, because they really are the key to customer insight and business strategy and market dynamics, and really informing the PM on what the product needs to be to meet a certain business objective. And so that's how product marketing shapes the actual product. And then we have business planning and strategy, which is also a very interesting role that looks more in terms of the future horizon, that is keeping an eye out for opportunities. So think of business planning and strategy as defining the market, seeing market opportunities, seeing what the competition is doing or opportunity that we have with our stack, and then working with internal teams to actually build those products. And so again, I hope this is useful, but I think the key takeaway is there's not one role that will help you build products. There are multiple roles, and they're all exciting. They all do different things, and this is why we need different voices in building products, right? Because we live in a very, very diverse world. And so I actually did this exercise. I had a lot of interviews. I asked, what is it that you do? It was literally as simple as that. I was dealing with a lot of engineering teams as a part of my sales role, and I would just, after the calls finished, take 5 minutes to just talk to them and say, hey, what is it that you do, right? I want to be in your shoes someday, so help me understand what is your core day-to-day like. And so that's how I did. I spoke to a lot of people and mapped, based on who I talked to, what I was very strong at, given what these roles are looking at, and what I needed to show. Because for a moment, I did not ever think that I couldn't do any of these other things, by the way. I had full confidence in myself that I could absolutely do each of these things. The problem was there was no demonstration of that, right? There was no body of work to show that, hey, Ashanka can actually do a pretty great market dynamics analysis, right? She can analyze competition, because I did not do that as a part of my sales role. And so what I did was I mapped it out and I said, okay, I have product expertise. I understand the Microsoft stack. There are literally very few people, I think, I'm not bragging here, by the way, but who understand the Microsoft stack as well as I do, because I was working with customers. So I needed to understand the Microsoft stack. And then customer insight. Again, very few people had the experience that I did, because I talked to customers every day. But then I realized the things I needed to show was that analysis aspect, the ability that I could understand the business, but also the zoom-in aspect of it, right? That I could actually tactically work with engineering to talk about what product improvements needed to be done. So once I did that, I reached out to my engineering mentor, and I said, hey, I want to get into engineering. I want to do product management, and can you help me? And I made the pitch to her, and honestly, she was like, I have no doubt in my mind that you can become a PM. That's the first thing that she said. But she said, the problem is you're coming in from sales where you have not demonstrated some of the PM capabilities. So we need to work on you showing that you can do it. So one of the things that she gave me, and it's been life-changing, is she gave me homework. It has changed my life on how I look at career transitions. She was like, okay, let's do this. in order to demonstrate the competencies, and again, this was not a question of whether I could do it or not. She's like, I totally believe you can do it, but we need to have a body of work. And so in order to demonstrate that, she said, pick a favorite product or service and pretend you're the PM of that service. And create a deck demonstrating what you would do as the PM of that service. And for me, that was so powerful because I totally got it. As this was my moment to figure out if I really wanted to do it or not, and this homework was perfect. And honestly, I use the concept of homework even now because as I look into my next transition or some of the other roles that I want to go into, one of the things I'm thinking about is, okay, what is the demonstrable sample that I have if I go to a hiring manager? For example, I'm looking at corporate strategy roles, right? That is something that interests me. And so when I've had informational with corporate strategy managers, the first thing they say is, have you done a DCF analysis or evaluation of a company to acquire it? And I'm like, no, I haven't done any valuation analysis, right? But again, this mentality of showing demonstrable work means I went into Coursera, started taking valuation courses, and now I have a valuation sample that I could probably show to a future hiring manager if I wanted to. I don't want to. I mean, I love what I do. But again, that is the thinking this has gotten me into. It's like if they tell you they need certain skill, your next step is to go acquire that skill and show that you can do it. It's as simple as that. And so here's what I did. This is actually samples of my Uber deck. I chose Uber, by the way, not because they're my favorite service, because they're such an interesting company. They were disrupting a lot of industries, and I wanted to show that I understood that. And so again, the objective of this deck was to show that I could do a lot of things, right? I could talk about in-product experience. I could talk about market dynamics. I could talk about business strategy, and that was the objective. So literally, this is the deck that I built. It's not the greatest deck. I did it over a week. I spent about 60 hours on it outside of work. But just doing this exercise was cathartic to me because it reinforced that this is what I wanted to do. So I trawled through all of Uber's research. I did market analysis, looked at a lot of research reports, bought a lot of research reports by myself, and then showed example of what market analysis, where Uber's opportunity is, who their competition is, and essentially where they're getting hammered in markets like China, and how that was sort of shaping their product strategy or their business strategy. And the other thing that I did was I went and suggested an expansion strategy for Uber. So this was my way of saying, hey, here's my opinion of what Uber should do next if I were in charge of their business. I essentially analyzed all of the cities that they were in, figured out what cities work best for them, and then suggested future expansion cities for them as well. So this was just an example of showing my mentor, my engineering hiring manager, that I can go beyond the ask, that I can actually give suggestions. And then the other important thing in my product manager interview was talking about in-product experience, right? Like when you have a product, how do you go about making recommendations to the product? Can you prioritize the problems? Can you prioritize what is a low-hanging fruit and what is easy wins? And so again, for this, I did not use any fancy UI mock-up tool that all the PM interviews will tell you to use. I just used PowerPoint and just put in pictures that I thought would be great or changes. It was as simple as that. It was nothing fancy. And again, the point that I'm trying to prove is don't let all these things deter you. This thing is achievable. And one of the things is, as I was going through this deck, I realized that the things I had recommended in 2016, Uber is making available right now, like scheduling rides. So essentially, I predicted some of the things that Uber would do in that way. For example, pre-booking rides, and then talked about safety risks for Uber, and I also talked about Uber not having a solution for elderly people. and suggested they tie up with hospitals or AARP, and Uber is doing exactly that. And then I also talked about Uber's issue with their bro image and all of that. And turns out their CEO is doing ads about Uber for good. So really, I mean, one of the things that I learned is not to doubt myself. I really wanted to talk about, in terms of what what hiring managers are looking for is not really about your coding skills, but it's about how you view, or what your point of view of looking at a business is. And that's really important. Having that point of view about product fit, customer need, market dynamics is very important. And then being able to go in and then have recommendations on how the product can be tweaked or modified or built in order to meet those market demands are also very important. And so getting into strategies for switching roles, really, I think the most important advice that I could give is first of all, know what you want to do. Like, what is the role that will make you very happy and would help you, get out of bed, excited for life, those kind of things, and have a serious sort of look at what skills you already have for that role and what boxes you don't tick. Now, as far as the boxes you don't tick is concerned, my advice is, out of a job description, there are probably only 3 major things that are core for the job. Everything else is nice to have. Really, like, there are a lot of us who look at job descriptions and say, oh, I only meet 2 out of 11. I should probably not even apply for this. That is a complete myth. Apply for it. Seriously, just go for it. And I'm proof, because I once applied for a job where I met only 2 of the criterias for the job. And there were like 11 things they wanted for the job. I met only 2 of them. And my entire reason for asking for an informational for that job was essentially to have a contact with the hiring manager. Like, I didn't even want the job. And I just thought this is a great way to get in touch with the hiring manager. And I was like, he will talk to me, and then he'll say, talk to me about another job, but at least I have a contact that way. And I ended up actually getting that job, which was surprising to me. And that's really, it's true, in the sense that a lot of these job descriptions a lot of it are nice to have. I always ignore the experience part of the job. Like, they will say they need 11 years of experience, and I'm like, I don't have 11 years, but I will still talk to this hiring manager. So I have developed the sense of ignoring job descriptions to the point where I will only focus on the core things that the job needs, and then really analyze, can I do it, or do I not have the skills, or do I don't have examples of it? And so really do that honest evaluations. And then other thing is, reach out to folks who are hiring for those jobs. Have lunches, have conversations. Even when you see a job posting, reach out to the hiring manager, honestly, because a lot of it are signals that hiring managers are getting, right? This person is interested. This person is passionate. This person, in their current job, maybe not doing what we want them to do, but maybe they can be your mentors. Really putting yourself out there is super important, and reaching out. And my favorite trick and advice that I can give is, when you see a job description that really interests you, just reach out to the hiring manager. You really never know what will turn out of that. And then show them your homework. I'm a big believer of this. I'm a big believer of building this entire body of work for a job that I don't currently do, but I'm very interested in. And then showing that, look, I'm really interested in the role. I don't do that currently in my job right now, but here's a body of work that you would be interested in. It's amazing how much hiring managers love that. It shows initiative, it shows passion, it shows that you went out of your regular job to do it. But I think all of us know this, that all of us know career transitions can be done. And the most important thing is, I believe the hardest part is believing it can be done, because I fought a lot of self-doubts. And again, nobody told me I couldn't be a product manager. It was me believing that I couldn't do it. And honestly, the hardest part is believing that, I think, and fighting the self-doubts. So a kicker for this story is, I call it the graveyard of unsent emails, because I have this habit, like everybody else, when I see a job that I like or something that's very interesting, I write up that email, and then at the end of it, I'm like, this is stupid, it will never work, and I will never send that email. So I'm like, my biggest advice is to send that email. Like, send it. Because once you send it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they don't respond. It doesn't matter that if they respond, it's awesome. You have an ongoing conversation with that person. Doesn't matter. And the reason I put this up is because this is true. So for the job that I'm currently in, last year, so I transitioned in October of last year, October 2017. And in May 2017, the job posting for my role went up. So my hiring manager actually put the role up in May of 2017. And I had actually seen the job posting, and I thought it was super interesting. And I had written this entire email saying, hey, I would like to get into this role. Can I interview for it? And then I thought it was stupid, and I did not send that email. And then 4 months later, that job posting surfaced again, and this time I sent that email. And so again, karmically, it's like I was meant to be in this role in a way. But it's amazing to me that I still have the draft email, by the way, sitting in my inbox, that I had this draft all ready to go, but I did not send it because I thought it was, who would respond to me? It's all stupid. So my biggest advice is send that email. And just yesterday, I had the same moment where about something all different altogether. I was working on a business plan or a proposition, and I thought that was stupid. Who will respond to me? But I took my own advice as I was building the slide, and I sent that email. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I took that chance. And so that's my advice to all of you is, in terms of next steps, work on creating that body of work, and then start sending those emails to hiring managers who might be interested. So that's all I had today. Thank you for listening to me. I hope it was helpful. And I hope you can carry some strategies with you. I'm looking forward to hearing about all of your journeys. I'm on Twitter. Please message me if you need anything. I'm here to cheer you on. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you so much. Any questions? Hey, there we go. Tasha, do you want to go to the mic? Yes. So.
Also, this mic is as tall as I am. So now that you have transitioned, where have you found the most difficult times?
Wow, that's a very deep question. I think one of the things that I found was difficult was being the only person in the room with my expertise of customers, because I work with engineering a lot, and I found that I was the only one who had that customer voice. And it was trying to tell my larger team that this is what customers actually needed, and then having the other team not having this experience. They're not thinking like that. And they're going, huh? Do people really need that? Like having those kind of conversations of trying to sort of push your expertise forward, because that's what's needed to build a product, but not in a way that intimidates other people, I think has been a challenge that I'm working through. It's about how can I sort of bring my expertise in and meld and really come in together with the rest of the team without looking like an outsider. Because sometimes I still have that outsider imposter syndrome that I'm from sales, like what do I know? But fighting that has been one of my biggest sort of challenges, is to sort of being confident and saying, no, the customer insight that I have is very valuable. Nobody has that in this meeting. And trying to use that as a strength, I think, has been what has worked for me.
Awesome.
Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, very inspiring, by the way.
Thank you.
My question is, what is your next career move? You just jumped in the product world. Do you know what's coming up for you?
My super skip is right here.
Okay.
My CVP is right here. I don't know, actually. I do have some ideas. I really love corporate strategy. and I really like the aspect of valuation and valuing companies and startups and venture capital. And so that's where I'm sort of looking to build my skills on, especially valuation, like being able to have like a solid skills in valuation and finance. Because I think ultimately where I'm looking to go is managing a business, like having that full-rounded experience of being in sales, product development, and then finance and valuation, I think is where I'm trying to build skills on.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes?
Okay, so you said that if you know what your passion is, the trick is just going for it and trying to get there. So my question is, how did you find out what your passion was enough that it was worth going for there?
I think that's a great question. And the question is, how did you find your passion for what to do next, correct? And I think the easiest way is to figure out what you don't want to do. I think process of elimination, right? I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. And then figuring out what's left, and then finding out what excites you by trying different things, honestly, is the way to do it. Like when I was in sales, there was a lot of options before me. I could move up and be a people manager in sales, manage a territory, and I realized that's not where I wanted to be right now. That's not where my heart is. But then looking at and then by process of elimination, looking at, okay, what is it that excites me? Like when I'm excited, when I speak to customers, when I'm doing my current role, where is it that I'm actually getting excited so I'm naturally spending time on it? And for me, it was always the product. I get super excited with our technology. Everyone, when I was in sales, everyone would tell me, oh my God, you get so excited about Microsoft technology, you are what we need in front of customers. So I always got excited with product. And so for me, that's when I realized that I now wanted to actually build the product that I wanted for my customers. All right, I think that's it. Thank you so much. This has been great. I hope this is helpful. Thank you.